Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Rob with the Real Sharks crew, and we're going to be doing a movie review for you guys on the new Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I know that wasn't in the movie. So this is the brand new Mortal Kombat. This is the new Mortal Kombat for 2021. I actually ended up catching it. It should actually just be called Sub-Zero uh, versus Scorpion, but if you took like a
Yeah.
really long walk to get to that story and to that point. So where to begin? So first of all, I really want to talk about the difference between the two movies, not the series, not anything like that, just the difference between the two movies, because I actually thought in some respects it was good, and then others I was like, God, okay. So what this one overall did for me was give you basically what you've always kind of wanted to see from the first one. You wanted to see the guts, you wanted to see the gore, which it had plenty of. You wanted to see the fatalities. You wanted to see all that. And it gave it to you. Now, in hindsight, did I think it was a little overdone? Kind of. Now, also as well, there is a lot more emphasis to fighting in this one. The fighting emphasis of the whole movie, there is plenty of fighting. So a lot of the criticism that was in the original 90s one was that there wasn't enough fighting. This one is pretty loaded with fighting. However, I will say this, it dragged on a lot.
How
Now,
long is it?
it's almost like 2 hours, but you know,
Fuck.
yeah,
I've
it
not seen
was.
this. That is it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right
How
now.
long is it,
2 hours for a Mortal Kombat movie
Mm.
is insane. It's
Yeah.
insane and it's obscene. What the fuck
Let me
are you
find the
doing?
runtime. Let
Yeah.
me get
There's
the
a
actual
reason
runtime.
why it was so long though. There's a
Uh,
reason.
Let me see.
If I
I don't.
remember
It's an
correctly,
hour
it
50.
was
It's
yeah,
almost two
hour
hours.
50. Yeah.
How
Almost
do
2 hours.
people not get that the 90-minute structure was there for a reason?
I'm getting
It's
to that. I'm getting to that. That's
yeah,
because Luke, I
Right.
Yeah.
remembered you said that, and we have
Yeah.
covered that. And for all of
yeah.
our listeners, we have already talked about that in Mario Bros. Zombies and Wizards, one of
Not
our popular episodes.
not all movies need to be 90 minutes, but if you're making a garbage popcorn movie to entertain the squealing pigs that are the American moviegoers, you need
Gotta
to make
stop you
it
there
90
too.
minutes. Like that
Gotta
is the
stop you there.
formula.
Hold on. Gotta stop you there. You guys gotta help me out on this. Who directed this new one?
Okay,
Christopher Nolan.
so yeah, the new one was directed by Simon McQuid. I don't know if I'm butchering his name or not, but he doesn't really have an extensive background as far as like any type of movies. I think this might have been his first movie. He had a short story or a video short, excuse me,
Yeah.
in 2014 called The Nighttime Economy. But I think this is his fully fledged film debut.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, the
Really.
Nine Economy. But it's interesting because even though this may be his first film, you can definitely tell it has a very monotone style. And I mean, it looks just like every other film that's come out. So that was one point I gave against it a little bit. I was like, it looks nice, it's clean, it looks good. But I was like, there's
He
nothing
probably
really
had
to that.
he
Right.
probably had no say in the style. Like, he was probably hired because this is a WB movie. They were
But
Warner
it was
Brothers. They were playing.
interesting though because it didn't
Uh,
seem like it was directed towards American audiences at
Interesting.
first.
Okay.
It at
Okay.
first because it really seemed like a movie that was like they had the source material and then they
Uh-huh.
translated it different to a different perspective.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you still saw Outworld, but Outworld
Uh-huh.
was different from the 90s one. Outworld, I actually thought Outworld looked pretty cool.
Probably
Yeah,
it
it
was
did.
it was probably re-edited because they suspected, because if it was edited in 2020, they probably thought the only decent market that would show in theaters is China. So they probably marketed,
Maybe
so they probably re-edited
there
it
is
so
a
that
character
that was
that speaks
probably
Chinese.
going to be their
Yeah.
only that was going to be the only viable theater market at that
That's
time.
that's
So
interesting
Yeah.
you say that because they're in the beginning of the movie for the main character, which I have to say kind of was not even a real main character. He kind of was just
He kind
there.
of was. Yeah.
He kind of was just there.
Maybe he was the
I
Yeah, he
mean,
was.
audience.
No, he was.
he was. You know what? It reminded me of. Louis Tan. It really reminded me of a that I can't even remember which Mortal Kombat it was, where you get to create your own warrior and get to live inside Mortal Kombat, and you were like this. It was almost like directly from
He
that.
was like, yeah,
There's a
he, you know what
couple
he
of
was?
them.
He was
I think the
like,
modern. I have Mortal Kombat like 11. I think you can do that. You can
Yeah,
make
that's
your
what I'm
own
talking
Mortal
about.
Kombat
And it was
character.
like you had your own story and everything. It almost seemed like that because it was like a one guy who obviously is supposed to be the audience,
right,
and we're supposed to
definitely.
experience everything through him.
You know what he's like? He's like Neo because he doesn't
Yes,
really understand what's going
yes,
on, and he has
yes.
everybody explain the universe of Mortal Kombat to him, and he's just like, "What's this? What's that?" And he gets like a power like
That's
Neo towards the end.
on
So,
that note. That is also insane that somebody needs to be explained what Mortal Kombat is. It's like
but it's
it's
the
Thank you.
people that
100% like
explain it
okay,
to him
so it's a
too.
bunch of people with powers that
This is
try
a
to
good
kill
talk.
each other. How is that hard to understand, sir? Like that.
That's really interesting that you say that because there were some points in the film that I thought really like coughed up. There is one in particular is the first scene. The first scene, as you said, for Chinese audiences,
Fantastic.
they have one guy who's speaking Japanese, one guy who's speaking Chinese. Sub Zero he's speaking Chinese and he kills the Japanese guy. So in the beginning there, when they introduce Raiden, there's no dialogue. There's no nothing. It's just you see the electricity around him and you know, oh, that's Raiden. Now, cut to one of the next scenes in Outworld where they're talking to obviously who's Sub-Zero and he's badass and his all get costumed up and everything. And the dialogue literally goes, he calls him by his regular name. He goes, "No, my name is Sub-Zero." And I was like, okay, come on, pick and choose. You're either going to do a movie about Mortal Kombat and expect that everyone already knows what they're seeing, or you're going to do the character introduction and be like Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
it would be like again. I think maybe they were underestimating how common because everybody knows Scorpion and Sub Zero. Like,
Right.
would you? If you made the Sonic movie, there was a moment where like I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, as in like nobody would not understand what's going on there. Like
Right. And that's
everybody knows Sub
what this
Zero and
did.
Scorpion. That's like what the fuck? If you don't know those characters, you're not watching the fucking movie. That is just a goddamn fact.
Right. And that's what this movie kind of did. And like it was good. The special effects I thought were good.
They were
I
very
thought
good.
I thought the
They were
special
very
effects
good.
were good. I love the smoke scene for Shang Tsung. I love when he does the soul sucking. I thought all that was great. There was just a lot of like beady dialogue to explain what Mortal Kombat was. It was just like, oh my god. It really reminded me a lot of the take of the Power Ranger movie, the newer Power
Oh,
Ranger movie that came out.
yeah.
It reminded me of that a lot because it was
Okay,
like
so
this.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
yeah. Let me jump in. So I'm gonna agree with you, Rob, about the new Power Rangers film and the correlation to Mortal Kombat because the big problem with both of those films were they don't know what they want to be. Like
Right.
the whole thing when it starts was very cool, right? It's very
Yeah.
serious toned.
Yeah.
Where you
Yeah.
do have, I mean, this isn't spoiling or anything because it's on the internet. It has Hanzo Hazuki, I think is his name, who's Scorpion's real name, and then you have
They
Bean
even say the
Han.
Lin Kuei.
Yeah,
Like who's
Lin
real from
Kuei.
Mortal
But
Kombat.
here's the thing. They're saying thing because he says like for the Lin Kuei. So people who play the video games like that's badass. You know, he's
Right.
mentioning it. But if you don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, you're like, who is this guy? Why is he coming in here? Why is he killing these people? What is Mortal Kombat? You know what I mean? So that's why they had the main character Cole, who was this like lovable loser kind of
Right.
Rocky-esque type of character where he loses and he doesn't really
Yeah, he
understand
does.
where he's from. And then, but just like you were saying, there's like Raiden. He just pops up. He has no lines in the beginning of the film. So if you don't know Mortal Kombat, you're like, who is this guy? Why is he doing what he's doing? Scenes are moving quick. They go to Outworld, which is a completely different scene. And then why is he Sub-Zero? There's a lot of explanation, like exposition jumps that are
Right.
just explained to the main character via to us through some of the characters that are very odd to me. People like Jax and Sonya Blade, who in the original films and other games really don't know too much about Mortal Kombat. They kind of just
They know
whisked in
now.
it. they're just kind of like, yeah, what's Mortal Kombat? What? You know what I mean? And then they have to be explain it. And this one, she's like, no, Mortal Kombat, yeah, it's a
Right.
thing. So I'm like, how do you know this? Aren't you like the military people that are like skeptic about all of this? But in this film, they're like, no, Mortal Kombat's a thing, and you know, we know all about Kano and all these other
What was
people.
with
So
Jax,
it's
Steve?
very
Why did they give Jax the puny robot arms for so long?
yeah, right, right.
You know,
Yeah, did you
overall,
want to get into that as well with how in this film they have something that's similar to Mortal Kombat Annihilation where they have tattoos?
I was
You know what I
right.
mean? They brought back the weird
yeah.
tattoo things.
Right, and obviously the chick. Oh my God, what's her face? I remember when you guys were talking about the girl who was supposed to be like Baraka. Obviously, they switched out for a female,
Oh, Milena.
which
Oh,
Yeah, Milena.
yeah.
yeah, which I didn't mind. Overall, though, I thought the film was a decent adaptation. I really did. I thought if the 90s one never existed and this one came out, we would probably all be like, this one is the shit. But because the 90s one does exist, and because the 90s one changed so much into Mortal Kombat, I mean,
Yeah.
as we said before on this program, you know, they started modeling the games off
Yeah.
off the actors.
Yeah.
It
Right.
just I think there was,
And-
and I hate to say this, such a high level of expectation that I
yeah.
just think it was watered down almost. It came off as watered down.
Uh-huh. I also think it's just like Mortal Kombat has a very specific tone that regardless of the issues of the 90s film understood.
Right.
It knows it is gritty and dark and weird, but it is also stupid as fuck. And the 90s film is both of those things. And that's why I mean obviously there's probably nostalgia, certainly nostalgia. If I was to watch it again, I'd be very mad about it, especially with Christopher Lambert being Chinese. I am Chinese.
I don't think so.
I am Raiden. Her. Um,
Don't make fun of the Highlander, bro.
Christopher Lambert is Raiden. Yeah.
But that's
I think-
no, you guys are all hitting it. It really
Yeah.
was
I don't think
exactly what it was. It was almost like a tone deaf to Mortal Kombat in a way.
the only
Well,
the
it's not
best
fair though to say
piece
that though.
of the best piece of like Mortal Kombat media that isn't a video game was that trailer starring Michael Jai White for like that Mortal Kombat web series. Remember
Yeah.
that? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the actual series was pretty disappointing because the fight scenes were not great and the special effects.
No.
But that first trailer with Michael Jai White as Jax, like investigating murders, and they're like Scorpion, you know, like Scorpion
Right.
killing people. You're just like, oh fuck yeah, this is gonna be the
Yes.
shit. It really, yeah, and that was back in a time where you were like web videos weren't huge like that. The idea that like a web video could be like actual canon, legit stuff was not even heard of. And so that trailer is by far the best Mortal Kombat.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
So
you know
do you? I'm gonna pose this to you, everybody here, guys. Do you think that Mortal Kombat? I mean, like Rob is completely right. Like most of us here we have like a synonymous nature to the film, the first film, to the games. Like you said, Rob, like some of the games now, like Shang Tsung, the actor who played him, they modeled Shang Tsung after him. The
Right,
guy who
yep.
played Liu Kang, they modeled the guy after Liu Kang. So
they
like
kind of did that in this movie.
they kind of
Yeah,
did
they
this in this
did.
movie, but do you think that it's also because Mortal Kombat is a 90s video game? And we're talking about in 2021. Do you think it resonates a little well
Yeah, I thought it was
with that?
fine.
Because
Like, that's
people are
what I
like,
said.
"Oh,
I
that the
thought
Shang
it
Tsung
was
looks
fine.
stupid."
I mean,
I thought it was okay.
I mean, obviously the games have continued to sell well, but it is true that it is a '90s property at this point.
It is.
And yeah, and of course, like fighting games as a whole have started to fall to the wayside. Overall, besides Mortal Kombat, and maybe like Soul Calibur.
Right.
Oh,
But
yeah,
overall, go ahead, Squid. You haven't said anything about this. Were you even watching the movie?
I was watching the movie.
You saw it
but, you know,
twice. You said nothing.
I did see it twice. I saw it from HBO Max, and then I just saw it today in theaters. And you know,
with a
What?
woman.
Yes,
woman.
with the woman. Yes, the
Yeah.
squid went on a date.
Oh, yeah, to bring that up.
God, you brought it up earlier, so okay.
I just
But
said with a
yes,
woman. Did I say anything about a date?
But as I was saying,
Oh,
I noticed like a lot of differences from watching it at home and in theater. I mean, I think the main thing I missed the most is was the surround sound and
yeah.
just hearing everything like intensified. Like especially one of my favorite scenes is when they break in. Kano breaks the staff with his laser eye, and they
See,
start fighting.
glad you brought that up because Kano was absolutely one of the things that ran down the points for this movie. The
Yeah.
fact that they took Kano and they made him a flip character to where he's good and then he flips to
Then
being bad
flips, yeah.
was
being bad,
stupid. But not only that, the fact that he tries to be the comic relief to the point of like being like one of those like Asian kind of film, and I'm not being, like the
Yeah.
Godzilla films, where there's just that quirky guy that's just constantly making a pun after pun after pun after pun, and you're like,
Well, we
oh
had
my
two of them.
god.
We had two of them, Rob. We had it was like
Oh.
we almost had a Batman Forever thing where it was
Oh
like
my
Yes.
God.
Jim Carrey
Yeah.
being. So we have like Jim Carrey, the whole whatever character being Kano in this film, where he's just cracking jokes, he's cracking one-liners, and they're good. But I did feel like they were too much at points. It was
Yes.
like it was taking away. But then
Way
you
too
have a
much.
character like Two-Face also kind of competing in a weird way, which was the Caval, in my opinion. They had Caval, who's a really
Yeah.
serious, badass
Right.
character, and then they had him do a bunch of speaking roles, and then he was doing weird one-liners. I'm like, why is he
Yes,
speaking?
why?
Yeah, like he shouldn't be talking at all. It's already weird that he's in this film, right?
Right.
So why are they having him speak? They didn't have like other characters like Milena speak, I think, at all. There's this other guy, I forget his name, but he's like this big brutish type of character that
Oh,
didn't
the
speak.
dude with the
The hammer. Yeah, so he didn't
Yeah.
they and he's like a very important character in Mortal Kombat lore, and then we're not even going to speak about a certain villain that we all know who's got four hands. He kind of got done dirty in this film.
Right.
But I'm just like, I could see why maybe they just didn't want to spend the CGI money. I'm thinking because
He was
they
still
didn't.
cool.
He
This
was
It was
kinda-
still cool.
This kind of like, and again, I'm not going to talk about Star Wars. I promise I'm only going to mention Star Wars for this one thing.
All right.
But
Oh, here we go.
this kind of ties into like the extent the expectations of people who have experienced an extended universe, because the Mortal Kombat canon is huge.
Mhm.
There are all types of characters, all different subplots and storylines, and then there are comics, and then there are like other and then there are books, and it's just like Star Wars where it's so huge and there's all this rich stuff that that people who really like these series are like, oh, there's so much you can draw from to make a movie, and then they come in with with the movies that are just their own thing and are just kind of like rote, make sure that everybody is happy stuff. And it's like you could absolutely grab stuff from those other sources to make a movie that people would probably still enjoy, because people are drawn to those books as well. If they,
true.
people like those stories, people who've never seen those stories would probably like it too. So the people that are running these properties, making these films, like have it just kind of shows, and not that we deserve respect, because we're all a bunch of weird, creepy nerds. We don't deserve this respect, but like it just kind of shows a lack of respect for these properties, that they don't even look at these extent. Like they could just simply grab stuff from what's already there into something relatively satisfying. Like Mandalorian did this great, but but yeah, they just it's there. Like literally, you have like it's not. It's actually harder to make up your own stupid bullshit to make people laugh. Just take the stuff that's already
Right.
there in the hands of creatives that have put real work into it. You can do it. It is easier, but they don't.
Man.
A little baffled.
I thought though, however, like I said, it wasn't that bad. Like
that's-
it
That was
wasn't
pretty good.
Overall-
that bad.
Overall,
I
it's
just
definitely
I
a
think
start.
that, like, there is a path of least resistance, and for some reason the movie studios just continue to not take that path. So
Right.
it's
Right.
it's you know, and of course, you know, they continue to put women and minorities in this films as well. So it's just like only makes it worse. It's only making
Yeah.
the
It is making it worse, but I feel like I'm
Oh.
on Rob's side on here, where I feel like this isn't that bad of a film. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I actually kind of hated the film when I was watching it, but then at the end, I was like, you know, it had a lot of problems with this film. It was a
Yeah.
lot, but
So does the
it's
'90s one.
but so this is a
Oh,
90s
yeah.
one,
Yeah.
and we love it.
Yeah.
And just like Rob was saying, like if this was the only Mortal Kombat film we had ever gotten in existence, we would just be like,
Would love it.
this is sick. You know what I mean? I
Amazing.
can't believe it.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to believe.
My
with
line
the-
about women and minorities was a joke. I'm sorry. I feel
Right.
like that didn't land, so I kind of want to clarify.
I like how we're all not even speaking about like Annihilation. We're just mentioning the first films.
How many
You're like,
Mortal
Well,
Kombat
I mean,
movies have there?
because-
There was the Mortal Kombat. There was two, and there was
there's
an
two, and
Just
now
two.
there's three. Now there's three.
Okay.
But there's also like a series, like a web, like the web
Yeah,
series,
There's
and then
like a
there's a
machine-
show.
In my head, it feels like Mortal Kombat had like a whole bunch of
No, you're right.
direct-to-DVD
No,
stuff.
There's
there-
a lot of comics. There's a lot of stuff with the games. The games have brought
Yeah.
more lore than anything else to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
It is weird. It is weird that they haven't figured out how to do a movie based off a fighting game, because literally the narrative is there. Like, you guys have seen Karate Kid, right? Like, that's the whole.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of characters. You have to, like, they all have to fight each other, and then one person's gonna win at the end. Like, that's Rocky. That's every sports movie, and yet for some reason it eludes the grasp of filmmakers to make a fighting movie, a fighting video game movie for people. Like, just make a fucking tournament, and they're like, you know, there are some characters we like, and they gotta and we have a bunch of fights, and then we have like in between where we all have the drama, we learn the motivations, and at the end there's a big fight. The character who's most sympathetic wins. How is this hard? How is this so? Again, it's like what are you?
they made it very
doing?
complicated.
They
They
did.
made it very
Yeah.
complicated.
But-
They're overthinking it. It's insane.
Yes, it was very thought. But overall, I'm gonna give the film honestly, and I want to see what you guys say. Overall, though, I give the film. Now, we've already spoken on the original. We gave the original like up there around 9, I think it was altogether.
Yeah.
We said it was incredible for the time when it came out. It was,
Yeah.
and it's now that you think about it, it's even better now.
I still hate how they killed Sub-Zero in the first one. It's
Oh,
so-
I know, right? The
so-
Annihilation, right?
And Scorpion.
And what's interesting though is, and I don't want to open up the can of worms, is that they made Sub-Zero the bad guy in this one, which was interesting. I also thought too, because he's been a beloved character that went kind of back and forth for a long time, but they
I feel like
kind of landed on being a bad guy in this one.
yeah. I mean, like
The
none of the
bad
characters in Mortal Kombat are good guys, but
Right.
Like, because they're all like super crazy killers.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I give the overall film though, and I think some of you guys would be surprised, I actually give it a 7.5. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly would would say, yeah, pop it on, if you got nothing else to watch. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It is.
Definitely.
You can,
it's,
but you can walk away from it and come back and still know what was going on.
yeah, there's a lot
That's-
of the exposition. The whole plot of this film is not what you're watching Mortal Kombat for. You're watching it for what they gave you,
The
and I give
gore, the
the
blood,
gore.
which they give you right away.
right,
which,
right out of the game. Yep.
I was like, okay, so this is everything the first one wasn't, which is what it is. So
Which
overall,
they wanted. They accomplished what they wanted in a way, though, Rob. They were like, this is not the Mortal Kombat you're accustomed to. We're gonna
Right.
give you the things you wanted to see.
Yeah.
And their downfall was they wanted to give us all of it too quick.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what they wanted to do,
Right.
which is, I can take and leave that. So my score would be a 7. I feel like it's right there and it's solid. Like, I would watch this again. I would just pop this on
Yeah.
and just be
I'd
like,
watch
I want to watch something. Like, yeah, let's watch Mortal Kombat. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I'll give it the 8 as well. I mean,
you gave
I
it an
thought
8.
this was a
You give it an 8.
or
Did eight?
8.5. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Would it have been a 9 if you got into like third base with the girl.
I was thinking that. I was like,
You
I
guys are
would have
six.
probably given
I'm
a
trying to
high
give
score.
it-
It's a
Yeah,
10,
you get
bro.
it done if you got
Ten.
you got 3 fingers in. Sorry.
Trying to
Uh,
give my
I'm sure
reasoning.
I'm sure she's a lovely girl, and I hope you
Oh
guys
my
have
god.
a date. And kiss respectfully on the mouth.
And hopefully, after you mate, you both don't die to
And
have
hold
to
hands.
prolong your
Oh my
species.
God.
Go get Froyo together. I do.
Oh my god, you should do a
Oh,
Hobbit themed wedding and do it barefoot.
Why?
Uh,
Why?
Oh
no,
my
he's
God.
gonna record his
Can I
wedding.
continue, please?
Okay, yes, sorry.
Oh my
Cut
god.
this scene. Go.
Rob, Rob, how
But
would you pay Billy to have his wedding be a Real Sharks episode?
I knew it. I knew you would ask.
Uh,
I knew it.
It'd be like a Sasquatch episode. I'd have to film it. It'd be like a nature one. Like we'd have to
oh, so
literally
be
do the
speculation
nature thing.
first, and then yeah.
It would. It'd have to be a mystery. Okay, but again, cut, go, Squid.
But as I was saying, the reason why I give it so high is because they really did a lot better with the storytelling and progression with some characters. I definitely loved how they did Jax's story different. That they didn't already give him the robotic arms, that he had to earn for those things.
Oh, that was okay.
It was,
I-
yeah.
I thought it was a lot better than how they did it in Annihilation, because if I remember correctly,
Don't even speak of that one.
Yeah.
I know. I
No
remember
comparison.
how he got him, but I'm
Yeah.
so vague on it. But yeah, I
But-
thought it was a shitty way to do it, and then him tearing him off at the end
Yeah.
to have his normal arms back. I mean, yeah, he can't tear those suckers off now.
Yeah, but overall, I think the whole premise that we gave you our audiences, yeah, it was all right.
Watch it.
Well,
Watch it and then
watch
let
it.
us know. You know, watch it and let us know. Are we
us
wrong?
know.
Are we right? You know what I mean? In our opinion, do you think
Yeah.
that these deserve more? You know what I mean? Let us know.
Well, I mean, I have a question for you and Rob, real quick. Since looking how it ended and what they teased towards, if they did make a second, would you go see it?
Well, probably.
Yeah,
it's-
That's kind of the
Sure,
consensus right there for the whole Real Shark. It's just
It's
like,
a
yeah, I
very
mean,
situation for HBO Max, because since then they have released 4 films, like 2 HBO Max directly to streaming: Wonder Woman, the Snyder Cut, Kong vs. Godzilla, and now Mortal Kombat. And as far as I can tell, none of those 4 have really blown people out of the water. You know,
No, yeah.
all of them have either been like, oh, it's all right, to
all
either. It's all been kind of a mix. I don't know if that is something to do with these all being popcorn films on streaming, so you lose some of that element, or if they're just genuinely kind of mediocre films.
I think they're just kind of generally mediocre. Like I thought, like I said, the Mortal Kombat one I thought was generally mediocre. But before we continue on, so that's actually going to be our review on Mortal Kombat YouTube. So listen, like, and subscribe. From Rob to you from the Real Sharks Podcast.